As always, there are many topics and issues to discuss, and we have another couple of great guests joining me this evening. First off, we're going to look at how chaplains support people, and are they there for absolutely everybody? But what do they actually do? And what training have they had? And are they there to work with particular faiths? All sorts of questions that might arise. And I'm delighted to welcome with me in the studio, Neat Gordon. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi. Neat, you've been a volunteer chaplain at Peterborough Regional College and the University Centre of Peterborough for 5 years now, I believe.
That's right, yes.
Yeah. And then recently you were also employed by the Methodist Church as a pioneer in Dogsthorpe and Welland.
That's right, yes. Building community in Dogsthorpe and Welland.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I'd like to take those in order and start with your volunteering at Peterborough Regional College. Now, I've met Steph there, who's the lead chaplain.
Yeah, that's right.
And you've been a volunteer chaplain for 5 years.
Yes.
Gosh, what were you doing?
Well, it was very interesting because I was doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been working in Stamford for the street pastors,
mm-hmm.
and I helped set that up, and then we moved house. So I was looking for something to do, and there was a notice at my church saying, could you help at a coffee morning at the college? And I said, well, I could fit that in, that's fine. So I rang through and went and met Steph, and we sat there chatting for about an hour and a half, and we got on brilliantly. And she talked about chaplaincy, I talked about what I'd done in the past, and so she said, well, come in July and we'll see how it goes. And that was it. So that was 5 years ago.
Gosh. And how much time did that involve?
Initially, just a coffee morning on a Tuesday morning, and helping serving the drinks and biscuits and just getting to know people and chatting to them. But as the years went on, it kind of developed because Steph also covered Guildhouse, which is Anglia Ruskin nurses training. So we would go over and do a session on faith and faith and nursing, and we would talk to them about respect, and also with the University Centre Peterborough. But I actually went off and did a degree within those 5 years as well.
Right.
At University Centre.
In what subject was that?
Sociology and psychology.
Okay, that sounds as if it's going to support your ability to communicate with people. And
it's been brilliant.
Empathise with them.
Yeah, I was in sales for a long time.
And
so I'd meet lots of people from different walks of life because I was in press and radio. And so for me it was the theory behind what I'd done all my life, all my working life anyway.
And what's the size of the college and the university centre? How many students and staff are there?
Please don't quote me on this. Hundreds. In the regional college there's thousands of students.
Gosh, yes.
In University Centre there was about 700 while I was there. And then, of course, there's lots of staff to go alongside that. So as far the last I knew, there was about 700 staff because they have a lot of learning support staff as well.
And how many chaplains are there to look after them all?
Steph is the lead chaplain, and then she has six volunteers from different faiths.
Wow, right, okay. Different faiths? Okay. And do you each look after your own?
No. No.
How does it work?
It is. It's based on all faiths and no faith. So the chaplaincy is open to all, and it says freedom for all. And so the chaplaincy welcomes people of all faiths or no faith. I had a lovely chat with a man who followed Star Wars, and he was part of that faith, which has now been made a faith because it's got enough members. And then there are Quakers,
right.
Quakers, Sikh. They did have Muslims, and they had an imam go in to do Friday prayers, but that's dropped off over the last couple of years.
Oh, right.
And I'm not sure why.
Okay.
So but that's happened. So it's very interesting.
And what sort of challenges and issues and topics do you get talking about?
Oh, everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily faith-based. And I would say most of what we do isn't faith-based. It's more friendship-based. And so and coming alongside people, because people, if they've got an issue or a problem, it's about being with them, helping them through that. And in fact, there was one lady, she came in and she said, I just need to see a chaplain. So I went, oh, fine. It was a member of staff. And so I took her to one side and I said, oh, how can I help? And she said, I've just had a phone call from my daughter to say I've become a grandmother. And I'd like someone to celebrate with and to say a prayer of thanks.
Oh, gosh.
And you think, and that was it. Never saw her again.
Right, yeah.
But she just wanted someone to give thanks.
Yeah, and to acknowledge that and to share the human-to-human contact.
That's right.
Yeah, she had to tell somebody.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, and who better to tell than a chaplain?
Yeah.
Now, you have a chaplaincy, like a room or a place that people can come to. Yeah,
it's called prayer. The prayer room.
The prayer room.
And it's part of the wellbeing service that the college offer to students and staff. So, and attached to that we have two, a men's prayer room and a ladies' prayer room for the Muslims to come and say prayers.
Okay.
When they need to.
Yes. Sure.
And that works very well, and they're well used.
So it's respectful of any faith and their needs.
That's right.
And space, but it's also a place people can come and have that private and confidential chat.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there points at which you feel this is getting to the limit of my skill and my knowledge? I need to pass this person on.
Quite often, Steph will see people on a one-to-one, and we consider that we actually can signpost people forward from what we're doing. And I've known Steph to make phone calls to GPs, to housing association, or to different people, just to help people get through what's happening and to move them on from there.
So in reality, what we're talking about here is a community of thousands of people. Most of those are young people trying to make their way in life, trying to understand their identity, get their qualifications, understand what future they're going to settle into.
Yeah.
And of course the staff that look after them and teach them. And you're there providing welfare and well-being and support.
Yes.
A listening ear.
Yeah.
And a care and the opportunity for prayer if that's what they would like.
Yeah, definitely. If they ask for prayer, or we do ask them occasionally, do you have a faith? And so then we're able to go into prayer if necessary. But I would say the majority we don't. We do just offer that listening ear.
Now, one of the areas of concern in society at the moment is mental health and provision for mental health. Do you find that that's a particular issue?
Yes, especially among the young people. I would say most of the young people that come to see us have there's a problem with their mental health. Now that may just be the symptom of something that's going on at the back of it. So if they've got a housing problem or they've got an income problem, then it will cause a mental health problem too.
So that just adds to their worry. But mental health isn't about being anxious because maybe you can't make ends meet, or you've got to go to food bank. Mental health is then an illness that needs identifying and diagnosing and supporting.
But the Wellbeing Centre, so the chaplaincy we would say is kind of the grassroots level, and then moving on they have a counselling service within the wellbeing team, they have safeguarding, and they have a whole department that are set up to help the students and to provide support and encouragement to them.
So actually somebody who's thinking, I wonder if I need, I could go into education, I'd be terrified, I wouldn't know anybody, nobody would be there to support me. From what I'm hearing from you tonight is that the chaplaincy is really there to help and support and,
Yes.
and get people through.
The whole wellbeing team is there to help people, and they can find places for them to go. I knew of one young lady who came, and she was very young. She didn't have any friends. She was alone, but she would go to the library and read. And so then the library staff got to know her and know that she liked reading, and so they would interact with her and spend time with her. And then she would come to the prayer room at lunchtimes and sit and eat her lunch there, so that there'd be people that would come alongside and just have a chat with her while she was there.
And that helps people build confidence. Indeed.
Yeah, definitely.
But you don't only work, I know you're volunteering in the regional college, but you don't only volunteer as a chaplain in the chaplaincy centre, you're out and about around the corridors and grounds of the college.
Yes.
And I believe you wear a very clearly identifiable garb. What is it?
It's a purple polo shirt.
All right.
And it has chaplaincy team on the back.
All right.
And Steph has one that says chaplain.
Yep.
And it's got, so yes, very identifiable. In fact, it was interesting when I was a student at UCP, I would come across to the college and I could walk around and nobody would say hi to me, pretty much. I was incognito. As soon as I wore my purple T-shirt, the same people would say, "Oh, hi, Neat, how you doing?" Because it was the T-shirt that gave me the identity.
Yeah. And so do you find that? You wander about and a perfect stranger will come up to you?
Yeah. They know that we're approachable.
Now, faith does matter in this concept of chaplaincy. You have quite rightly said you are there for people of all faiths, including some more unusual ones, and of no faith.
Yes.
But you're Christian.
Yes.
How does your Christian faith support what you do?
I think for me personally, because I pray, then people that I meet, I may not speak about it to anybody. I let Steph know, but I will go away and I will pray for them and for their family and for their situation, because some of them are heartbreaking. And I, as a person, I can't carry all of that. But my faith will help me. As a Christian, I know that there is a God that is listening to me as I pray. And that he will care for those people because he's non-denominational too.
Yes. But are there times when you think, I just want to share this story from my faith and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to?
If I feel that it will help and the context of it will help, then yes, I do. I do share it.
Yeah.
And I say, this is from my faith, and this has helped me, because generally it will come out of my own experience. So I'll say, this helped me when I was going through this situation, and share the story that way.
So you start with a relation. Well, you start with a purple polo shirt, and people identifying, and you've got a great reputation. All of the chaplains have.
Yeah.
So you're approachable. You have a relationship. You build trust and friendship, and within the context of that, if it's appropriate, you can say, "Here's a story from my faith that's helped me."
Yes, that's right.
Or here's an opportunity that I will pray for you. So. This isn't about getting people to change their faith. It's about supporting them, who they are.
That's right.
Yeah, and looking for human flourishing.
Yeah.
Now then, you became employed by the Methodist Church.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
I was coming to the end of my degree. I was in my third year, and I thought, I'm going to have to find a job. And being more mature as a student and as a person, I thought I needed to do something about that. So I thought, I saw a job advertised, And I was thinking back about the different jobs that I'd had with street pastors and other things that I'd done, and I thought, I'm a pioneer. And then within 2 weeks, advert arrived that said pioneer team leader for the Methodist Church. And I was like, okay. So then I literally just thought, well, let's write a CV, apply for the job and see what happens. And wasn't really expecting to get very far.
But you were offered the job?
Yes.
Oh, well done. Congratulations.
Yes.
How recently is that?
January 2018 I started.
Okay, so you're 18 months in.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so the honeymoon period's finished.
Definitely.
You've got to demonstrate.
Definitely. I did actually change my hours because they wanted 20 hours for 3 years. And I thought, I can't finish a degree and do 20 hours and run a home. So I said to them right at the end of the interview, they said, any more questions? And I said, well, how would it be if I did 6 months at 10 hours, 2.5 years at 20 hours, and then another 6 months doing a handover at the end of the 3 years? And they were like, haven't really thought about that. Well, this is a pioneer position after all.
Yes.
It's been a bit different and a bit out there. So so they went away, had to think about it and said, yes, that's fine. So I got my degree and then went up to 20 hours from there.
Okay. Now, pioneer doesn't necessarily obviously explain what it is.
No.
So I'm wearing a dog collar, I'm a vicar, and you get the idea that I lead a church and I preach and I teach theology and I care for people and so on.
Yeah.
But what is a pioneer in the church?
Again, a lot of people would think different things, but from my experience and what I do, I went into the area and there was a deacon that was covering the job before me, Deacon John, and so I was told to go to the community centre on Welland and just go and base myself there. So I turned up to the children's open access play one afternoon and said, hello, do you know Deacon John? And they said, oh yes. And I said, well, I'm not a deacon and I'm not John. I'm neat. But the lady was lovely because she said, but you're you. Which I found very helpful right at the start because actually that's what it was about. And so I got to know the area and look at what would help the community rather than saying, I'm here, I've arrived. This is what we're going to do. I just waited and to see where the need was, what was already being provided for and what could help that and what could build that sense of community within the area.
So it sounds a bit like the chaplaincy work you'd been doing already.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yeah. And without the chaplaincy, I don't think that I would be doing such a good job because it taught me a lot about living in a multicultural environment and multi-faith and those different beliefs and faith and respecting the diversity between us all.
You told me earlier that you'd come from Kent.
Yes.
And not experienced any diversity.
No.
Gosh.
But that was a long time ago.
Ah, right.
I went to school in the 70s in Rochester, which is a lovely city in Kent. Yep. There's a lot more diversity now, I know.
Sure.
But at the time, in my school, there was one Asian lady, one Asian girl. In our village, there was one Asian family, and that was a village of 30,000 people.
And now you live in Peterborough, where there's an incredible diversity.
Yeah, and I love it.
Yes?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
Yeah.
What is it that makes it so lovable?
I just think the difference is that we're all actually at baseline the same, but actually different things. So the other day I was in one of my coffee mornings and somebody sneezed and a Muslim lady said, bless you. And I was thinking about that the other day. Do other faiths say bless you when somebody sneezes? And it turned out, so we had a little conversation about it, and it turns out that something is said in most countries when somebody sneezes.
Gosh.
But then I went on to say, well, we know where it's from in England, don't we? And they said, no. And I went, oh, well, it goes back to the plague. And explained that Ring a Ring of Roses was about a tissue, we all fall down. And if you sneezed, they thought you were getting the plague and you were going to die.
Oh, God.
So they would say, bless you.
Right.
But there were young English people who didn't know that either. So as an old lady, I feel it's my role to educate people. And that's one of the other things with talking to people of different faiths and cultures. I've realised that the language that I use is liberally interspersed with all this jargon that we speak in the UK.
Yeah.
And lots of in-words and things from historically that we would say that actually they have no idea what we're talking about. And so I'm learning as much as they are, I think.
Surely, yeah. Are there things you've learned about the other faiths in Peterborough?
Yes, definitely. And it was lovely this year because I only actually moved to Peterborough last October.
Okay.
So actually being part of the community, and I followed Ramadan quite closely this year and was watching out for my Muslim friends and making sure they were okay, and then celebrating Eid when it happened. So it was lovely, and I felt very much a part of the community.
We were blessed by being invited to the iftar meal at the cathedral.
Lovely.
Because the iftar is breaking of the fast at dusk on each of the days of Ramadan.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's more of a celebration with guests and friends, and the cathedral opened its doors for people.
That's excellent.
There were hundreds there. It was wonderful.
Lovely.
Yeah. Have you encountered the other faiths in Peterborough?
I would like to. Here's my request now.
Go.
The Our Lady of Lourdes is the Roman Catholic Church, and I've heard that a lot of the Eastern Europeans and the Polish will go to that church. And I'd like to get to meet some of those people because it would be interesting to see the differences and the things that we have in common with them. So yes, that would be really good.
Sure. I mean, I know the other Roman Catholic Church is All Souls, which is very adjacent to my own church, St Mark's, and they're absolutely packed again because Eastern Europeans have come, and they even have their because their fathers are from Poland.
Yeah,
so they
lovely.
Have some of the languages as well.
Yes, that's good.
Yeah. I've been to the Hindu temple in Rock Road. I wonder if that would be interesting for you. Yes, we do. There is a lady chaplain who is a Hindu. Gosh.
And she's lovely, and she has invited me to the temple, and I've not been yet. I put my hands up. Yeah. So that's on the cards. And I'm also part of an interfaith ladies group, and we were talking recently about having a trip to one of the mosques, because I've never been to a mosque either.
Have you not? No. Well, we could certainly arrange that.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
And in fact, I have an arrangement with Khadija Mosque where once a month we have an interfaith discussion. So Christians and Muslims together.
Lovely.
One month it's on a Sunday afternoon. 1 month we meet at St Mark's, and the next month we meet at Khadija Mosque. And the Imam, Sheikh Mahmood, and I introduce a topic. Yeah. And then people break into small groups and chat. So Christians and Muslims, men and women together.
Lovely.
We're getting on like a house on fire. It's a wonderful experience.
Very good.
And what we're finding is, what I imagine that you've already observed in the chaplaincy and in your work in Dogsthorpe and Welland, is just how much people share common values.
That's right. Definitely. I think kindness is the thing that underlies any faith. Kindness and love underlie most faiths.
Well, actually, time has caught up with us. What a lovely message to finish on. Kindness underlying all faiths. And we're people who are kind, and we're people of Peterborough. Neat, it's been wonderful to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Lovely. Thank you, Adrian.
So that's all we have time for this half of the show. A big thank you to Neat Gordon, who has been volunteer chaplain at Peterborough Regional College and the University Centre at Peterborough, and is now pioneer worker in the Dogsthorpe and Welland areas of Peterborough. Do stay tuned to meet our next guest, who's going to be talking about keeping your head in exam time from Thomas Deacon Academy, and we're going to hear some news about events coming up in Peterborough.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
कोई रत्तियां कमीज़ानी लमाना मारे मामा मिठियां में चीज़ानी।
मेरा नाम मुकद्दस है और कोट मेरा घर है और ये मेरे लिए किसी जन्नत से कम नहीं। हमारे भी कुछ ख्वाब हैं जिनकी ताबीर को हमें पाना है।
आइए इन बच्चों के ताबनाक मुस्तकबिल के लिए अपना हिस्सा डालिए। अपनी ज़कात, सदकात, खैरात और इमदाद कोट को दीजिए।
UK number 0300 123 774. Website court.org.uk.
Peterborough just got a whole lot tastier. Five Lads Flame Grilled Peri Peri Chicken is now open. Bring your family and friends to Peterborough's first HMC meat selling restaurant. We are experts in grilled chicken, lamb chops and gourmet lamb and beef burgers. Our healthy options include fresh salads and fresh grilled vegetables. Fresh, clean and healthy grilled food with 4 different flavours. Lemon and herb, medium, hot and extra hot. 5-star hygiene rating. Eat in, order and collect or order for delivery on Deliveroo. Follow 5 Lads Peterborough on Facebook and Instagram 5 Lads. 15 Cowgate, Peterborough, PE1 1LZ. Call 01733 56 22 87. Open 7 days a week, 12 to 11 p.m.
Al-Murad Tiles. With over 70 stores nationwide, we are now open in Peterborough. Up to 50% discount offers now on. Largest selection of tiles. Full bathroom suites from only £189. Paint, LED lighting, laminate flooring from only £7.99. Over 1,000 designs of wallpaper in stock. We have everything you need. Come and visit us at 193 Fengate, Peterborough, PE1 5BH, or call us on 01733 34 58 47. Al-Murad Tiles, now open.
Had a car accident or an accident at work? Accident specialists are experts in no-win, no-fee accident claims. Leave the hassle to us. Our multilingual settlement experts will manage the entire claims process on your behalf, with nothing to pay up front. We provide services such as credit hire, taxi vehicles, recovery, storage and much more. For full details on our range of services and a free consultation, call us on 01733 555 774 or visit our office at 249 Lincoln Road opposite the NatWest Bank. Accident Specialists. Start your successful claim today.
Insure 24/7 is a community-based insurance brokerage offering competitive premiums and a great service. Taxis, properties and businesses, we cover them all. Call us on 01733 856699 or visit our new office at 304 Lincoln Road. Insure 24/7. We've got you covered. Insure 24/7 is authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.
On the authority of Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, who said, "The Messenger of Allah, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, He who does not show kindness to the young and respect to the elder is not one of us."
हज़रत इब्न अब्बास रज़ी अल्लाह ताला अन्हु से रवायत है कि नबी अकरम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम का इरशाद ग्रामी है, जो छोटों से शफ़क़त से पेश नहीं आता और बुजुर्गों की इज्जत नहीं करता, वो हम में से नहीं है।
Broadcasting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Welcome back to Salaam Radio on 106.2 FM and online at salamradio.co.uk. This is Adrian Holtstock presenting Community Matters, the radio show for all communities in Peterborough and beyond. My second guest tonight also joins me in the studio. He is James Mepham from Thomas Deacon Academy, and he's here to discuss supporting your child in school exams. Welcome, James.
Thanks. Nice to meet you.
James is the subject lead for English as an additional language, so that must make you popular with young people. So many countries from all over the world. I mean, do you know how many first languages there are from other places?
We've got in excess of about 30 languages in school.
Right.
And about 1,600 EAL students.
Oh, that EAL, that's English Additional Language.
Yep.
Gosh. And yet all the teaching's done in English?
All the teaching's in English, bar a bit of support when they need some translation, but all in English.
Wow.
So sometimes it's a bit of a struggle to get students to where they need to be, but that's part of our job.
Surely. Well, I'm a governor at the Beaches Primary School, and so I know from 4 years and upwards, when children come where English isn't their first language and they have perhaps no English at all, I'm amazed at how quickly they do pick it up.
They do pick it up really quickly, and it's great to see when a student starts to make some success in English. From my point of view, it's quite disappointing when they arrive at school maybe a year before their GCSEs or half a year before their GCSEs, and you just think that there's no chance that they're going to achieve anything in their GCSEs. So from my point of view, we've really got to try and put the effort in to help them at that stage.
Okay. So what's been happening at TDA recently?
So quite a big thing. We've just got a new principal. So Mr. Carroll arrived in Easter and spent the first few weeks just looking around the school and seeing what goes on. And now he started to introduce some changes. So some really exciting things happening in September. And we're all working really hard behind the scenes to create that ready for September.
Gosh, is this going to be a surprise, or can you let us into any secrets?
I'm not sure I can let you know of too much yet, but nothing major, just little changes that are hopefully going to make life better for students and make learning better.
Wonderful. And that's the primary purpose of all education, is to enable the students to learn.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And make the most of their time.
Yeah, that's it. And I think perhaps we haven't allowed that before, so yeah, we're really going to make an effort to allow students to be the best they can be, really.
Surely. Now, what's coming up in the final few weeks of this summer term then?
Still busy few weeks to come. Year 10 and 12 are completing their exams currently. They're working really hard to do that, and it's great to see them get the opportunity to sit the exams in the exams hall, learn how that works, although they probably don't like it, so I'm not speaking on their behalf probably. We've got CCF, our combined cadet force, have recently been out on a camp and are going out on camp next week, so a week out on camp. Really successful camp. Last week they took part in a number of different activities, notably some shooting activities and night exercises, so that's a great thing that occurs. We've got Sports Day coming up in the last week of term, and then this week we've just had our Year 12 and Year 6 induction days, so it's been pretty mad at school with lots of new students trying to find their way around, and it's a big place to find your way around.
Gosh. Now, with so many nationalities and cultures and faiths that attend Thomas Deacon Academy, you mentioned CCF there, the Combined Cadet Force. Does that distinguish? So some people say that's for me and that's not for me, or do you get a mixture in?
I think some people would say it's not for me, generally.
Yes.
But I don't think we've got a specific group of people that say we're definitely not going to do this.
Okay.
It's a really great mix of students in there, and there's opportunities for a range of people to do different things. So it's not all about army stuff, if you like.
Okay.
There's a range of things that people can do, notably developing your leadership skills, making friends. That's just the bottom level of it that everyone would get out of it.
Sure.
Before you get to the actual nitty-gritty of the army or anything to do with the army.
Yeah. Now, if there are any Year 10 or Year 12 students around, their exams are coming up. These are mock exams, but what tips have you got to help them revise?
So initially, speak to your teachers. If you've got an area that you're not sure on, just go and have a word with the teacher. They're the expert.
Right.
They will help you. And if you don't know something, or if something's not your strength, spend time on that aspect. Don't don't leave it and go, oh, I don't know that, I'll leave that bit, I'll just learn the things I already know. If you already know them, you already know them. Spend the time and the effort on the things that you don't know, and that it's a feeling inside that you can't really, or you can't help. You're sort of like, oh, I don't want to do that, but you've just got to go and do that and say, right, address the needs that I've got. But don't revise for too long at one time.
Okay.
Common mistake, people spend hours and hours revising, probably isn't going to go in. They're just going to be overloaded with information, and at the end of it sort of say, I don't know anything. So we have started to introduce the Pomodoro technique. So Pomodoro technique is where you spend 25 minutes completing an exercise. So you start a timer and you only focus on that exercise or piece of work for 25 minutes. At the end of the 25 minutes you get a break for 5 minutes, and then you repeat the process of 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. After the fourth one you can then take a 15 to 20 minute break, and so that's been proven to allow people to retain more knowledge than they would if they were just spending hours just looking through paper.
Gosh.
So yeah, we're working on that, and definitely a good way of working. And then finally, past exam papers are vital, and testing yourself is vital. You can read all day, you can write out notes, but if you're testing yourself on what you know, that's when you're really going to find out whether you know it or not. And then again, you can see where the areas are that you need to work on and address those. So past exam papers are available online. You can ask your teacher as well, and they'll give you some.
Yeah.
But definitely the area you need to focus on is testing yourself.
Now, I can remember being a young person at school. I know it's a very long time ago, but I do remember it. But I had the impression that my teachers expected me to have learnt what they taught me, and that they didn't seem as approachable, or maybe that was just my impression as a young person. But you've said there that if people aren't sure about a topic, not to forget it, not to imagine they can't learn it, but to go and ask the teacher for help.
Yeah, definitely. I think things have changed a bit over time, and that's something that the bit about where you said teachers expect students to have learnt it. That's something that we've focused on lately, maybe over the last year or so, where we're changing our curriculums so that we're covering topics over and over again over the 2 years you study GCSEs, so that you start to retain the knowledge rather than, say, teaching something at the beginning of year 10, expecting the child to know it, and then going, well, why don't they know it? We taught it but it's just so long ago they won't necessarily remember it. So we're changing our curriculum so that we're covering topics over and over, therefore hopefully we'll get a better attention. And in terms of approachability for teachers, just go and ask them, even if you don't like them. And I'm sure there are lots of teachers that students won't like. Just speak to them. They will help you.
So teachers need to realise they must put on the atmosphere of being approachable.
Yeah, I think that would help. And I think generally our teachers are approachable. Obviously I can't speak for everyone, but you'd hope they are.
And I think that you being a teacher yourself, if a student comes back to you and says, I still don't understand this, you're thinking, this is a real opportunity for me to help this person.
Yeah, definitely. Test you sometimes, because you might be like, well, I've taught it in X, Y and Z ways. How else can I teach it? So that's the challenge for teachers, to try and work out, right, what's the best way that this student learns and how can I get them to retain the information? But that when you get that success, that's when you really get the pleasure of teaching.
Oh, wow. Well, now, there's another aspect to this whole business of exams. We've been talking about learning and revising and asking your teacher for support and help. But you also, something goes on inside, and it ends up causing stress, causing worry. What's your advice there?
I think it's a very real thing, and students get very overwhelmed, very stressed about exams. There's a lot of pressure put on exams. It's, if your GCSEs are your next step to life, and teachers probably can be a bit responsible for putting some pressure on, as can parents and so on and so forth, and the media. I definitely think students can become overwhelmed, but there are definitely things they can do to stop that overwhelming feeling. So as I said, with the Pomodoro technique to revision, taking those breaks in between revision really helps. If you're spending all that time doing the revision, you are overloading yourself, and you're going to become more overwhelmed with the work that you've got. So have a break in between bits of revision, go and watch a bit of TV, but then come back to the revision, don't forget it. So playing some sport would be helpful. As a PE teacher myself, I definitely promote sport or any activity that isn't learning, just to take your mind off what you're doing, to relieve the stress, and then you can come back to your work afterwards and hopefully be refreshed and attack it in a better way. But you shouldn't necessarily worry about the exams. I don't think that's the way to do it. If you're worried about the outcome, you're not thinking about what you're actually wanting to achieve. So just focus on what the question's asking you, what you need to do to pass that exam, rather than, oh, I'm worried about whether I get an A or a B or a 9 or an 8. Don't worry about that. That's the outcome. You need to affect what actually happens in the exam.
Do the best you possibly can.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and prepare yourself. If you're prepared, then you will achieve it.
So there's a lower level of stress, the normal worry and anxiety that people have, and sometimes you might say that's like actors, really experienced actors. Before they go on stage, they have that little butterfly. But that then gets them in the position that they can give a great performance.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. If you've got butterflies, that probably means you care about what you're doing.
Yes.
So butterflies is a good thing, but it's when we allow them to get on top of us, is when we lose focus. So you've got to use them to your advantage and sort of go in with the attitude of, I've got the butterflies, but that's going to drive me to achieve well in this exam. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to make sure I answer every question and whatever else, rather than saying, oh, I'm really nervous about this. I think I'm going to fail, or I don't want to do it. That sort of attitude would breed failure, probably, rather than flipping it over and saying, yeah, these butterflies are a good thing. That means I really want it.
And not to go the other way, of course, and have the attitude of, well, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to write myself off. I'm never going to get anywhere.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I see it quite a lot with students. Say, oh, it doesn't matter anyway. I'm not worried about this exam. And it's just a way of putting off the stress or allowing the butterflies to get on top of you. And again, that comes back to that being prepared or revising properly in the first place will allow you to feel better about the exam. So yeah, that would be my advice. Would be never do that. But it's easier said than done, probably, when you're in the situation and you have got the pressures of exams. It would be difficult to get out of that mindset, but definitely not a good mindset to be in.
No. Now, there's a saying, I'm not sure where it comes from. I've heard it said, it's a Chinese proverb. It takes a whole village to bring up a child.
Yeah.
I love the concept of that. But what I want to ask is this. How can parents, relatives, friends support somebody who's going through exam time?
I think there's some really simple things that parents and everyone else can do to support children going through exams, or just generally school. School is stressful, and it's probably going to get more stressful as time goes on. So simple things they can do, and you don't need to be educated in the modern GCSEs to necessarily do this. I mean, I don't understand some of the things that students are learning at school. I obviously understand the P bit, so don't get me wrong. But yeah, I don't necessarily understand them, and if you're not a specialist in that area, you might not understand what they are. So we're not expecting people to suddenly change things and say, oh, I know how to teach you this. But simple things that parents can do, or the community can do, is just speak with the child on an evening basis. How was your day at school? Tell me one thing that you did today, or what did you achieve today? Tell me one thing that didn't go so well. How are we going to address it? So that sort of mentoring, coaching style. The student's doing all the work, they're telling you all the information, and you're just helping them through it. That would be another way to guide through stress as well, because you're just talking about what's going on. Getting your child to teach you is a really good way of, one, you learning about what the child's learning about, but also if the child can teach somebody something, then you'd assume that they perhaps have a better understanding of what they're learning.
Okay.
So if they can pass on their knowledge, then we'd suggest that they understand it better. So sort of two-way process there, really. But student teaches you, they're practicing the knowledge that they've got, and you're learning something at the same time. Something that's really important, and I'm not sure how much of it students necessarily get, or how formal it is, but providing students or children with some space to complete their work would be a really helpful thing. So if we go back to the Pomodoro example, 25 minutes, provide the child the space somewhere in the house or wherever, peaceful space away from siblings, noise, TV, phones, just for them to do work.
Okay.
And they'll probably be more productive in a short period of time without any distractions than they would be over a prolonged period of time with many distractions. And then the final thing, bit of knowledge for next year that's coming out. We're changing the way we construct our curriculum and construct our lessons, and we're going to be producing knowledge organisers. So this will be a piece of paper with the basic knowledge that a student needs to achieve in that subject. So every subject will be producing a knowledge organiser next year. Parents will be made very aware of what they are, and so will students. And so there'll be an emphasis on students learning those knowledge organisers, or the knowledge on the knowledge organisers, on a regular basis. So parents could get involved in that, testing students, learning it together would be the first stage maybe, and then getting on to testing each other about what's on that knowledge organiser, so that then the student can go into school with the basic knowledge to achieve in that subject, and it will allow the subjects to then work at a higher level in the classroom.
You mentioned the parents wanting to learn together and inquire into the subject, and I imagine some parents will say, gosh, I can't go back to school, it's been such a long time ago. But I want to ask a more specific question, and it's going back to the EAL issue. Do you find that you have students who've got a good grasp of English and can learn and do well, but their parents have come from a previous era where they don't have English?
Yeah, that's very real in school, and something that needs to be considered, which is why I stood up and suggested that the student does the teaching. Interesting concept could be student learns it in English and then teaches it to their parents in their home language. That would be quite a complex thing for the student to do, to be able to convert English into their home language and then teach someone. And there's nothing wrong with speaking in home language as long as it's in good quality home language. We would never suggest that you should forget your heritage or your home language, but as long as it was being spoken well, then they'd still be proving that they've got good literacy in either language. But yeah, it's definitely an issue that we face on a regular basis, and often get translators in for parents when we need to, if we have meetings. So yeah, a very real issue that we face in school.
But I think the summary for parents is, and friends and relatives and so on, is provide that space, that calm, separated space where the concentrated revision can go ahead. And show a real interest.
Yeah, definitely.
And you don't have to be the expert. In fact, you aren't the expert in these topics. But show the interest. As you said, what have they learned today? What might they have struggled with? How are they coping with that? Which teachers are they going back to ask about that? Just that level of interest will be such building up.
Yeah, I think it's really important. And then what that creates is a communication between parents and child that perhaps didn't exist before if that wasn't being asked. And you probably find out quite a lot of information about what's happening with your child at school. I'm not suggesting at any one point that parents aren't doing that currently, but I think more of it would be really helpful. So something we did this year that we trialled and have actually going to roll it out for next year is a flipped parents evening. So we trialled it with year 8 and year 12, where the students spent about 3 weeks planning their parents' evening, and they delivered their parents' evening to their parents and the teacher. So the parents and teacher were the audience, and the student became the expert in this communication. So they planned what they wanted to say, positive, negative, and something they'd improve on, and then they delivered the parents' evening. And really, really good feedback from people, from students, parents, and teachers about what a nice environment that created. And it allowed the student to actually voice some of their opinions. So yeah, really, really good way of working. So that sort of built on my understanding of just speak about what's happening and ask the question, what did you do at school today? Tell me one thing you learned.
And that's called a flipped parents evening.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you try that across the school, or was that a particular year group?
So just trialled it with Year 8 and Year 12.
Okay.
And then we've got the go-ahead next year to run it with all years apart from Year 11. So
wow,
it's going to be a big rollout next year, but really exciting prospect. And the bit for me that will be really interesting is to see how well the Year 13s and the Year 9s next year, who will have completed it last year, do. And they should be experts at it now. They've done it once, so we're hoping that they're going to really improve on what they've done. So looking forward to that.
Now, one particular area, and it has concerned me because I know an exam invigilator who's commented on this, is when the GCSEs fall in the time of Ramadan, which they have been in recent years, and I think probably still will next year. Is that impacting on the best possible outcome for our Muslim students?
Potentially. It's a really interesting concept to think about, and I think it's going to hit us next year with the GCSEs in Ramadan. From my point of view, as a sportsman, the hydration aspect of being dehydrated in sport affects performance quite a lot, and therefore you might assume that it would in exams. So I don't know what the performance rates are with being in Ramadan and fasting and not being in Ramadan. And I suppose sleep patterns are also affected by how Ramadan works. That said, we've experienced Ramadan and GCSEs at the same time for the last few years, and it always amazes me how well students cope with dealing with the effects of Ramadan. They just get on with it. And it's really nice to see. I tried fasting this year for a bit and found it quite difficult. So I've got a lot of admiration for what goes on. I don't know what the actual effects are, but my admiration is definitely there for the students, because it's difficult, very difficult.
It is, and I think there's a psychological challenge here, because you will find some scholars and imams commenting that it is permissible to be excused Ramadan at that time, and then to subsequently catch up on the fasting to be credited with that. But then the young people themselves will feel, well, I'm part of a bigger community, and if the whole community of my friends, my colleagues, my parents' generation are all fasting, then I really do need to commit to doing this.
Yeah, definitely. I've had that conversation with students before, and they've said exactly that. No, I'm fine. I'll do it. This is my faith, so this is what I'll do. And then I always use the example of Amla, the South African cricket player who scored 300 runs whilst he was fasting. So it's definitely possible to perform during that period of time. So I wouldn't sit here and say it's a bad thing at all. But as I said, my admiration goes out, because definitely a really difficult challenge, but achieved by a number of our students.
Indeed. My first guest tonight was Neat Gordon, who'd been chaplain in the regional college. So we were talking a bit about the support that goes for students when those exam nerves and butterflies get rather deeper and stress levels increase. So what provision is there at Thomas Deacon Academy?
We've got quite a comprehensive pastoral system. So students in houses have access to their head of house and deputy head of house that's their sort of first port of call, as well as their tutors. So that's there for them. Sometimes it's difficult to speak to a teacher about how you're feeling, and I get that. So we do have a counsellor that works at the school. But I think, linking back to your faith aspect, that would be a really good way of channeling stresses and using faith to enhance your school performance. Because if you can channel worry, feelings through faith, we've seen many aspects of that achieved before in life through not necessarily exams, but sporting, careers, acting, whatever it might be, where people have used faith to enhance their career. So maybe go back to faith as well.
Wonderful. James, we've come to the end of our show. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing all this great information, the surprises to come in September that the new principal has brought in, the idea of a flipped parents' evening, and the really best way for students to learn and to revise and to get support from teachers and everyone at home as well. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you very much for having me on.
Okay. Well, that's all we have time for tonight on Community Matters. Remember, you are the community that matters wherever you are, and we'd like everybody to be a community that lives in peace and harmony. Just a reminder to keep Sunday afternoon, the 14th of July, free for the Francis and Sultan All Faiths Film, Food and Pilgrimage. And now it's the peace of God to you all. Good night.